Well, hi, everybody. I'm Don Stewart, and welcome to our second edition of Breaking News for this Saturday. It's the 11th day of October, 2025. And as the world continues to wait and see if the hostages are going to be released per the Donald Trump plan, Hamas continues its evil ways. So let's look at the headlines. There's two of them we want to emphasize during this edition of Breaking News. First of all, Hamas shoots at Palestinian rioters after abducting prominent Gaza clan members. This is from the Jerusalem Post. That's the bad news. Then we got an interesting story. It's very good news. There was actually a secret Israel-Arab military cooperation during the Gaza war that's now been revealed, according to leaked U.S. documents. That's from YNET News. So that's actually something that's encouraging. But this first story, we've been talking about this, and we've got the hostages. Hopefully, could come back as early as tomorrow, probably more likely on Monday. But after that, there's going to be some really tough times. And here's kind of a harbinger of what's going to be taking place. Hamas shoots at Palestinian rioters after abducting prominent Gaza clan members, the Jerusalem Post. These Hamas accused these clans of working with Israel, and it appears to be preparing to exact vengeance on those who oppose its rule in Gaza. This will come in the form of mafia-like murders of those claims of those whom Hamas claims are collaborators. It will target clans and groups that have shown opposition to Hamas. It will also target those who have worked with Israel or who it accuses of working with Israel. A Telegram channel linked to Hamas said the group would target collaborators. Now get this. The BBC reported that Hamas has called up some 7,000, that's right, 7,000 fighters to assert its control. Hamas recruited these people during the war, even as it took the number of losses that it had. It may have lost many of its commanders, but it has appointed new commanders to various cells, platoons, companies, battalions, and brigades. The BBC reported that Hamas recalls 7,000 fighters to reassert control over Gaza as fears of renewed internal violence emerge following the withdrawal of Israeli forces. The mobilization has been widely anticipated as uncertainty grows about who will govern Gaza once the war ends. This is a key sticking point for later phases of the Trump plan. And that's what our worry is all about. There's a couple issues, like we've said in phase two, that seemingly have no answer right now, and that is Hamas disarming and who is going to run Gaza. There was that story we did yesterday from Sky News. It was an exclusive. They talked to one Hamas leader, one commander, who basically said, "No, we're not going to lay down our arms. We're not going to lay down our weapons. Sorry, it's ours, and we're not going to give up our desire to see Gaza ruled by." Quote, Palestinians. We don't want outside forces to rule. We want Palestinians to rule Gaza, meaning they want to continue to rule Gaza. And they're not going to give up easy. They have the weapons. They put these 7,000, new soldiers out there trying to exercise order. And it's so ugly and it's so sad. Like the next sentence, Hamas has long used mafia-like gangland tactics to keep people in check in Gaza. Yeah, and you've got so many people in the world supporting them, thinking they're the underdog. Literally, they're like the mafia. This goes back to how the group emerged in the late 1980s and 1990s. Hamas leaders such as Yahya Sinwar were known for brutally murdering collaborators back then. Sinwar is dead, but his tactics live on. Hamas does a lot of its larger weapons, but it retains AK-47s and can use them to murder people. Videos have already emerged of Hamas allegedly murdering people. The brutality of the organization has also been revealed in a New York Times article that shows how Sinwar and Hamas planned to murder Israelis and burn communities on October 7th. Now, I have that story, and I just didn't want to give it to you. It's rather sickening because what it is, it's basically Sinwar's plan. This is from like 2022, before the October 7th, 2023 happened. And his plan has been leaked. It's been, written, and people have, commented on it. But basically, it's just to kill whoever he could. Military, yeah, but also civilians. Kill everybody you see, burn their towns, burn their kibbutzes, burn them. It's just wanton, senseless, total violence. It's just evil with a capital E. And this is who they are, this group, and who they will continue to be. So, like we say, unfortunately, we're going to be euphoric in the next day or so when the hostages come back. There won't be a dry eye in the house, and that's for sure, because after 2 years, they'd be so glad these people will see their families again, and the families will see the people. Um, Assuming nothing goes wrong in the meantime, that's another issue too, but hopefully that'll be the case. But let me tell you, after that, I'm really fearful that some really tough times are going to come for Israel, for the whole Middle East and that. So it's not going to be peace. President Trump talks about it. We're going to have peace for the first time in the Middle East. No, we're not. It's not going to be anything near that. In fact, just the opposite, I'm afraid, is going to take place. So anyway, we talked about the brutality of the organization. That's in the New York Times article. Then there's a person who is an expert journalist named Khalid Abu Tomer. He's covered Palestinian affairs for decades. He wrote on social media that Hamas's security forces have arrested dozens of suspected collaborators and anti-Hamas clan members since the ceasefire went into effect. Many are expected to be executed according to Palestinian sources. So as soon as the ceasefire took place, they picked up all these people and they're going to just execute them. And as Hamas threatens to eliminate any opposition in Gaza, the groups that emerged during the war to challenge Hamas are eyeing the future. The Daily Telegraph reported that this weekend, in an exclusive interview, Hassam al-Astal describes how he and others who hate the terror group await the moment to liberate Gaza. Astal leads a group opposed to Hamas. In the interview, he said he would work with Tony Blair, whose name is circulated as one of those who may play a role in the Trump-backed Board of Peace for Gaza. Hamas ultimately also has set its sights on what's called the Dogmush clan, whose members it has killed in the past. The clan is large, it has weapons. Hamas will try and keep it in check via violence, but also likely via talks. The reported today, October 11th, that tensions rose sharply and quickly after two members of Hamas's elite forces were shot dead by gunmen from this powerful clan in Gaza City, one of their neighborhoods. One of them was a son of a senior commander in Hamas's armed wing, who now heads the group's military intelligence. Another group that Hamas will want to target is any of those who are linked to a man named Yasser Abu Shabab, who's formed a militia in southern Gaza. He is linked to Bedouin families, and Hamas may target members of the Bedouin tribes accused of working with Israel. Now, this is from Israel, from YNET News, some of these stories. Israel's YNET noted that amidst the emerging ceasefire deal with Hamas, under which 48 hostages held in Gaza are expected to be released in the coming days, a senior Israeli security official on Thursday called to act now to protect the Gaza clans that have fought against Hamas during the war. We must not abandon them to Hamas. The New Arab has asked, what will happen to these groups that have worked with Israel? And the UK Guardian has made it appear that those groups could harm the current peace deal. And that's one of the worries that we have. And there's so much going on, like we said, from so many different angles. It's hard to imagine any type of order or stability here. Hamas will want to settle scores and also show it's still in control, and that's what they're trying to do right now. They're not going to remain in the shadows. It's already deploying men with AK-47s in areas of Gaza. It'll want to show it still has a mafia-like grip on power. It won't want any of the various clans, tribes, and militia to get any ideas. It will want to cement itself in power before any new interim administration is appointed. In other words, it'll be basically a fait accompli, as the article says, who thinks they can remove Hamas from Gaza. They're going to make it where it isn't possible with the people on their side and with their armed, forces there. Like I said, it's going to get really, really sad and really, really ugly. So the story we did yesterday from Sky News has been picked up by a number of Israeli news organizations. It's their belligerent claim that they will not disarm and that they will approve who runs Gaza in the future. In other words, instead of going with the Trump plan, which says they have to disarm and there'll be a group that's going to be picked by Trump and others who will run Gaza, and in the meantime, they say, no, we're not going to disarm, and we're going to be the ones that who are going to approve whoever runs Gaza in the future. And whoever it would be, according to them, it's some puppet, which would basically, follow their orders. So what happened today with the 7,000 new Hamas fighters in Gaza trying to restore their power, and so the possibility of them giving up their weapons anytime soon seems very remote. So this is one of the big worries with respect to what happens next. This coming week should be very eventful. In addition, the hostages may be released as soon as tomorrow, though this is uncertain. And of course, as always, we'll keep you posted. So much up in the air, so much going on. And they're going to have a brief time of euphoria, assuming the hostages get back. But on the other hand, after that, it's going to get really ugly. All right, now here's a really interesting story that probably none of us had any idea would happen. This is from YNET News. Secret Israel-Arab military cooperation during the Gaza war is revealed. This from leaked U.S. documents. Despite harsh public criticism of Israel, at least six Arab states secretly took part in a U.S.-led regional security network, sharing intelligence and training with Israel on tunnel warfare and countering Iran. Washington Post revealed on Saturday that despite fierce public condemnation of Israel by Arab governments during the Gaza war, several of those same countries secretly maintain close military and intelligence cooperations with Jerusalem. According to leaked U.S. documents obtained by the newspaper and the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, as ICIJ, at least six Arab states, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and Qatar, all took part in a classified regional defense framework known as the Regional Security Construct, and Kuwait and Oman were listed as potential future members of this. The mechanism established under the coordination of the U.S. Central Command, or CENTCOM, is U.S. behind this, of course, and thank God for that, function as a discrete network for information sharing, joint exercises, and operational coordination aimed at what? At countering Iran's regional influence and strengthening military ties with Israel. All meetings were classified and sponsored and confidential with strict orders, banning photography or contact with the media. Internal memos even outlined kosher catering and religious dietary restrictions that prohibited pork and shellfish at the gatherings. Now, this is a very surprising story, but one we're glad to see. As much as these countries hate Israel, they're even more afraid of Iran. That's why they're doing it. It's not because of their love for Israel, it's their hatred and fear of Iran. And its surrogate Hamas. It would be nice to see such cooperation in the future made public, but doesn't seem likely. So now, what do? We continue to pray first and foremost that nothing will stand in the way of the release of the hostages. In the Middle East, you can rarely be certain of anything. And so, as always, we will keep you posted. And this could come as early as tomorrow. We hope and pray it comes before the deadline it's like 11 a.m. on Monday. And once that takes place, then we're into phase two. And phase two, like we said, it's going to be very complicated. But the good news is we got God's word to guide us. We know what's going to happen in the future, who's going to be where. And that's why we keep emphasizing this. We're always optimistic here. We're never disillusioned or, basically from everything that's going on or discouraged because we know God's in control. He's told us these things ahead of time. So some of them are very, very difficult, but they're going to happen. But we know he's running the show, and that's what keeps us going here every day on breaking news. So hopefully we'll be an encouragement to you as always, because we're eternally optimistic, because we know the living God has everything under his control. And sooner or later, during his timing, all things will, come to a head. Christ will return. His kingdom will be set up forever and ever and ever. And we won't have to worry about sin, evil, murder, any of this stuff any longer. But the Lord Jesus Christ in control, and you and I be given new bodies, new minds, and new everything. What a wonderful day that will be, right? All right, I'm Don Stewart. Thanks for watching. Continue to pray, please, for the hostage situation. And then, of course, phase two of this plan, because there's so much that could be going on. And again, nobody knows exactly what's going to happen. But we'll be here to tell you along the way and what it means, more importantly, from a biblical perspective. I'm Don Stewart. Again, thank you for watching. And as always, until next time, may the Lord richly, richly bless.